being in a wet market is quite an interesting experience.
You go in there, it's very loud, it's crowded, you don't know what to look at.
There's a lot, unique things that you don't really find in supermarkets, and that actually brings a whole level of experience when you go shopping.
So today we're here bright and early at Tekka Market
For a Know Your Fish tour.
Let's go!
Hi, my name is Kenny. So I'm part of Pasarfish, one of the co-founder.
I'm Elliot, I'm the other co-founder of Pasarfish. We thought it would be very apt to name it co-founder because we talk about fish and seafood quite a lot. Pasarfish is an education and research platform that aims to push for more traceability in our seafood supply chains and also educate people about our shared seafood heritage in Singapore. So I grew up going to the wet markets with my grandma, so I'm very familiar with the wet markets, but we realized that's not the case for actually most Singaporeans our age. A lot of people find the wet market very intimidating.
So we hold a variety of classes because we want to bring people to the wet market, not only to just relive this whole experience, but at the very same time we want them to really start identifying what types of fishes are out there, knowing how do you choose your fish, how do you select what types of fish to be used in different cuisines as well. You can see it's dots, right? There's dots. So this is what we call as a beka.
The variety of fish at wet markets is so much greater than you'll find at supermarkets. Not just fish, I'm talking about vegetables as well. Stuff that was used historically in the past for authentic recipes, you can only find in the wet markets. We've recorded about 150 species of fish. If you go to a typical supermarket, you might only see 10. And we're still getting new species every week, so there might be a lot more. Compared to supermarkets, the fish are a lot fresher. Generally, I think on the whole, it's cheaper as well.
Wet market hacks number one is always be friends with the uncle and aunties. They give you great discounts, they do a lot more for you. They introduce you to new things that you would never try by yourself. Selection of the freshest things. So tricks like, for example, for fishes, you can look at the gills. You want it to be a blood colored red. And you can look at the eyes for it to be as clear as possible. And also there's the touch as well. There's this slimy coating to it, which indicates that it's fresh. And also, the smell of it, you don't want it to be fishy. So a lot of times you can only experience all these different senses at the wet market.
In the supermarket, you buy fillet slices or the head of a fish or a tail of a fish. Here, you can ask them to prepare it in whatever way you would like. So they'll descale, they'll gut it, and then they'll ask, how you want it to be cut. They'll guide you along, so you don't have to, know all these answers. When we cook, sometimes we might want certain parts for certain things. So you can get the whole animal here.
Price for you.
To be honest, as a millennial, I'm a little bit intimidated about going by myself. I think if you ask too many questions, you might look silly. But in fact, that's a huge bonus that you can ask fishmongers, butchers, how do I cook this? You can get exactly the type of fish or meat that you want and even the cut that you want. You can have it prepared a certain way for what you're cooking.
One more huge thing that we want to achieve with our tours is this whole shift in consumerism as well. What we want is to promote is consumption consciously. For example, if you know this particular species might not be as good for the environment because it's endangered or is caught using not great fishing methods, or farmed not sustainably, you can actually make a conscious decision to switch your fish to more sustainable sources.
It could be a mangrove jack. Actually, I think it might be a mangrove jack. This is oh, you're right. So besides education outreach, we also wanted to do some research. I think we're not aware of where our fish comes from and how it's being caught. So we've done research since August, collecting market data at Tekka, just looking at what types of species are being sold, the abundance of the different species, and then we've been tracking that. Push for a bit of more monitoring by government agencies if possible.
I was actually surprised to learn today that a lot of the stingray we eat is not necessarily stingray. It might be something like wedge fish. And it was also good to learn that perhaps we can try and eat more sustainably by avoiding things like sharks and stingrays or eating them less often. A lot of us consumers, we want to make choices that are better for society, for the environment, while also still staying within our budgets. So I think when you have a place like a wet market, you can really get down to the provenance of the food and also fit your budget for that week.
Unfortunately, in Singapore, more wet markets are closing down also. So as we come back to wet markets, which has a little bit more history to it, we realized that, this is really interesting because tidbits of the past actually brings back memories and it just feels very familiar.
It's like returning home. It's a very kind of heartwarming experience coming back every weekend to the wet market.